Welcome aboard Pink Monorail. I'm your pilot, Shelly Noe Valladolid, and next to me is my co-pilot, Noah Valladolid.
Hey everybody.
Last time we talked about some of the early years of Disneyland. This time we're going to talk about Disneyland's sister parks, created by C.V. Wood. Disneyland's success gave bright ideas to other men of means. C.V. Wood left Disney in 1956 under less than favorable circumstances. After the end of manufacturing the magic, at this point it looks like the last episode will be about California Adventure 2.0. After that, I'm going to write an episode for C.V. Wood to have all to himself. In her book, The Amusement Park Industry, Judith Adams, the nice lady who told us that Walt built Disneyland because he was sexually repressed, doesn't go quite as far into the psychology of what made these sister parks, should I say copycat, appear. The first park to be planned was Denver's Magic Mountain, due to open in 1958 but couldn't get the funding. In 1952, Denver businessman Walter Francis Cobb and sculptor John Calvin Sutton came up with the idea of an amusement park called Magic Mountain. C.V. Wood joined in 1956. This is from goldenlandmarks.com. The Wall Street Journal said, his idea, take the Disney concept of a family-type amusement park, devoid of thrill rides and small hucksters of the hot dog and soda pop variety, and plant such parks at the doorsteps of other communities. C.V. Wood hired away about a dozen of Walt Disney's staff and created his own company, Marco Engineering. Among other things, goldenlandmarks.com says, soil conditions and a diamond mine in Venezuela. He offered a 15-man package of theme park designers. So you call up C.V. Wood, you say, I want to build a theme park. He sends you 15 theme park designers.
And that's all it takes to make a Disneyland is just 15 theme park designers?
That's all it takes.
Wow. No construction equipment, no land?
You provide that yourself.
Oh, you got to do everything else. Okay.
In May of 1957, Magic Mountain was organized and selling stock, had purchased 220 acres in the alcove of South Table Mountain near Golden, Colorado, home of Coors. This became controversial, some Native American stuff going on. So Cobb found another location, Apes Gulch, just southwest of Golden, a former gold rush town. By June, they had 600 acres and a contract with Marco. That's C.V. Wood's company.
Right.
Ground was broken in 1957, and the entrance with train tracks over tunnels was completed in 1959. Magic Mountain's theme was Old West Town in 1858. The first building was the Cavalry Post, the administration building. A full-size train built by Baldwin Brothers in 1889 was launched, engine number 420. A high Victorian Gothic train depot followed the post building.
Oh, that sounds pretty.
Yeah. Centennial City was a main street with buildings in several Victorian styles and forced perspective to both make the buildings seem taller but also the street longer. The stores, like Disneyland, had 1950s display windows. Planned but not built were outer space lines, which would simulate a supersonic flight in outer space. Forest River Ride did make it to reality, opening in the southwest corner of the park. Storybook Land didn't make it, nor did the Magic of Industry. There was a ski lift and a successful ski area. Magic Mountain took it down with it in 1960. There was a carousel, the historic Eden Palais, but when the park closed, the French owners took it back. Plans published in the local paper called for a mine ride and the Creation of the Earth ride. Cobb just couldn't get the finances down. He really could have used a TV show.
Turns out there's a lot more to making Disneyland than just having a blueprint.
That's right. Magic Mountain was auctioned off in 1960. In 1971, it reopened as Heritage Square. It closed in 2018. And now, here's a word from our sponsor. And we're back. Freedomland USA opened June 19, 1960. It was located in the Baychester section of the North Bronx in New York City. Rising from marshland, the park, designed by C.V. Wood, was owned by the Webb and Knapp Real Estate Company. Major owner William Zeckendorf Sr. announced plans for the park in 1959 on April 30th. The park was shaped like the mainland USA and opened with over 40 attractions. Slogans for the park included the world's newest and largest outdoor entertainment center, the world's largest entertainment center, the world's largest family entertainment center, and the world's largest outdoor entertainment center. It was 85 acres. Disneyland was 160 acres.
I think their math was wrong.
Well, it turns out they were including the parking lot and such, and Disneyland wasn't.
Oh, well, yeah, that was a great parking lot, though, to do donuts in.
Freedomland cost $65 million to build and opened $8 million in debt. Milton Ted Rayner was president of Freedomland, Inc. The park showcased American history, sort of the Disney's America of its time, except it actually got built. Wood came up with the concept and pitched it to Webb and Knapp in 1958. The site was already owned by Webb and Knapp. The site was a former municipal landfill, former swampy marshland. This led to a mosquito problem during the summer. The International Recreation Corporation, or IRC, was incorporated in Boston in April 1959 to oversee the development of the proposed park. I got that from Wikipedia. It is the largest if you counted 125 acres of parking, maintenance, and service areas. They boasted a 12,000 spot parking lot and upcoming 600-room motel. Freedomland, Inc., a subsidiary of the International Recreation Corporation, leased the land for the park for 50 years. IRC issued about 1 million shares, which were then sold to NDC, National Development Company, a subsidiary of Webb and Knapp, and to Freedomland, Inc. The IRC offered 580,000 shares to the public at $17.50 per share, and the stock was oversubscribed. More people were willing to buy it than they had actual available stock. This raised $17 million for the park for the first 5 years until the park would pay $600,000. The next 5 years, $750,000, and after that, $1 million per year. Groundbreaking was supposed to be July 4th, but it got pushed back to August 26, 1959. It was quite the event. There was a special subway car for attendees, helicopter rides on the property for the park's major investors, performances by cowboys and showgirls, and a musical number by the New York City Department of Sanitation's 60-piece band. 50 bulldozers, one for each state, were exhibited at the ceremony. Most attendees were somehow involved in the creation of the park. Only 19 members of the general public attended the ceremony. Over 2,000 workers labored just under 300 days to get to opening day. Contractors included Aerodynamics, Enco souvenir manufacturer, the Brass Rail, whom you'll hear more about when I get to the 1964-65 World's Fair, and sternwheeler manufacturer Todd Shipyards, who made the Columbia for Disneyland.
Now, the Todd Shipyard, that was also here in Long Beach. There was a Todd Shipyard, I believe, and that's where a couple of my uncles used to work.
Alan Hickson designed the park's layout. A small fire during construction burned 6 small buildings. Parts of these were later used in the Great Chicago Fire attraction. Opening was originally scheduled for June 1st, 1960. President Eisenhower and all members of Congress were invited. The opening was postponed to July 1st because of expected crowds, but moved back to June 18th due to demand generated by a very heavy marketing campaign. Press preview was April 28th, and the Ed Sullivan Show was set to broadcast from their opening day. If you couldn't have your own television show to promote your new park, this was the next best thing. The first phase of advertising targeted people living within 50 miles of New York City. Newspapers, radio, TV, subway cars. Contests and promotions were held in the New York City area, and some advertisements were found 100 miles away. Marketers used the slogans I mentioned earlier, as well as "A World of Fun for Everyone." They nixed 50 States of Happiness. There was even a promotional jingle.
A little old tip from the anchor man. Take a trip to Freedomland. Take a trip to Freedomland. Take a date to Freedomland. The moon both free and swinging wild. Performing night and day. Great shows night and day. There's me and Bobby Wright.
On June 18th, there was a dedication ceremony in front of the old Chicago-themed railroad station. Michael Virginito says in his book, Freedomland, The Definitive History, that 25,000 people came and that it was a fundraiser for youth programs. On June 19th, the park opened to the general public. People lined up for 2 hours before the scheduled 9 a.m. opening. The owners extended their advertising reach to 125 miles. Pat Boone cut the ribbon at 8:30 a.m. By noon, DJs were warning people over the radio not to come to Freedomland. It was full. The parking lot was full, and people were parking on the side of the road a mile away and walking. At 2:05, they stopped selling tickets. They recorded 61,500 visitors. Expected maximum capacity was 3 times that. They closed at 9 p.m. instead of midnight as they had planned. Freedomland was only 85% complete at opening. Drinking fountains didn't work, bathrooms were few and non-functional. Concessionaires ran out of supplies, and some buildings weren't even painted yet. On the second day, 15,000 people came. Satellite City and the Great Chicago Fire were not opened until a few weeks after opening day, and the promised motel, Freedomland Inn, and movie studio were never completed. Admission was $1 for adults, 75 cents for juniors aged 12 to 17, and 50 cents for those under 12. Members of the U.S. Armed Forces paid 75 cents. Attractions had an additional charge of 10 to 50 cents. Coupon books were available, 9 rides for $3.50. During the first season, adult admission was raised to $1.50. Baychester Avenue and the New England Expressway at the park's western edge represented the U.S. border with Canada. The park was sideways. West was north. The designers Wood had lured away from Disney worked their movie set magic once again, and as guests entered the park, they walked into little old New York of the 1890s. The designers added advertisements and lighting to give dramatic effect of the set pieces. The park focused mostly on 1850 to 1900. The park could hold 32,000 visitors at one time, or 90,000 in one day. There were 8 miles of navigable waterways and lakes, 10,000 newly planted trees, more than 18 restaurants and snack bars.
So in scale, it was not quite as big as Disneyland, but it still had a number of natural features.
These were all man-made.
Man-made?
This was a swamp.
Oh boy. Well, yeah, they were having their mosquito problems.
A swamp and then a landfill.
Hey, yeah.
7,200 parking spaces instead of the promised 12,000. 1,800 spots for employees. 35,000 shrubs. 80 burros. 200 horses. 6, later 8, stagecoaches. 41 attractions. 2,000 performers. Its own fire department and police station with 110 officers. Interactive shows with audience participation. Freedomland was a dry park. We'll get to that later. As attendance failed to meet expectations, off-the-shelf rides were added. The park wasn't even open year-round due to snow. They had a 2-foot narrow-gauge Santa Fe Railroad traveled between Chicago and San Francisco areas. 6 minutes long, 1-mile loop. The park leased 2 locomotives, Monsoon 3 and Monsoon 4. Also rented passenger coaches and flatbeds from the Edamille Railroad in Massachusetts. Rolling stock went back between seasons. A Von Roll, Disneyland is the most missed skyway, 2-passenger Tucson Mining Company Skyride traveled from Old Southwest and Old Chicago sections of the park. The gondolas on the Skyride were from the 1958 Brussels World Fair. It was the first 101 Von Roll, 2 cables instead that looked like 4. In 1960 and 61, they went round trip only, but starting in 1962, visitors could board in Chicago and go just one way.
So their answer to the railroad circling Disneyland's berm was they also had their own train, and they had their own skyway as well.
Right, but the train didn't go all the way around the park.
Right, just went from the Chicago area to the LA area, didn't cover New York.
Yeah.
Or San Francisco.
Yeah, they were going to build a Hollywood area, but they never got that far.
Oh.
The first area we're going to look at is Little Old New York. They had a horseless carriage, which was a 1909 Cadillac, and it went through the New England countryside. They had tugboats in the New York Harbor section, horse-drawn trolley, just like the one at Disneyland on Main Street. But this went from New York to Old Chicago and traveled on tracks. Like Disneyland, they had a working bank, the Bank of New York, but also it had an exhibit in there about currency. Borden's Old-Fashioned Ice Cream Parlor, F&M Schaefer Brewery, which made Schaefer beer, which, again, this was a dry park.
Yeah, they weren't supposed to have a brewery in there.
You could watch it, but you couldn't. You can look, but you can't touch.
Oh, man.
They had the K-Candy, K-King Sea Candy Shop, Lipton's Inn and Lipton's Tea House. No frogs drinking tea. They had the New York Coffee House and Welch's Grape Juice Bar, and they also had a New England vineyard. And you don't really think, oh, vineyards, New England. You think Napa.
Right.
But Concord grapes.
Oh, that's true.
The famous Concord grape for
grape-
Welch's
Welch's grape juice.
comes from New England.
Huh.
They had a print shop where you could make posters of some of the attractions and things in the park and take them home.
Oh, cool.
An apothecary shop, just like at Disneyland. A glass blower shop. All the stores, though, were separated, unlike Disneyland, where you could pass through from one shop to another
Right.
inside. They were all separated. You had to go outside and then go in again. Some of the entertainment included a German band, Tammany Hall, political speeches,
Oh, no.
suffragettes, and a gangland robbery of the bank, even though it was supposed to be 20 years before gangland.
Right. So this was both a Freedom Land celebrating USA and also doing USA history.
Yes. Next was Old Chicago. The Great Lakes were quite impressive. They were 6 feet deep, 10 acres, 10 million gallons of water.
Oh, man.
And there was a stern wheel, 2 stern wheels.
Twice as good as the rivers of America.
That's right. The Chicago Fire was their biggest attraction, and they had an 1800s water pumper and audience participation for you to help put out the Chicago Fire. And that sounds kind of weird for a theme park, but they were really popular in amusement parks. Disasters, the Jonestown Flood, the Great Chicago Fire. People loved them. They were very popular.
Well, even Universal had the earthquake, and then...
That's right.
And then at the MGM Studios and later...
Catastrophe Canyon. That's right. They had Chippewa war canoes from 1960 to 1961, 5 19 passengers, and a native guide. And I'm not sure if it was a native guide or a native guide.
If you're listening and you were one of those native guides, let us know which kind.
And the before-mentioned Great Lakes cruise, 2 110-foot, 400-passenger sternwheelers with calliope on each one.
Oh, how neat.
Next we had the Indian Village, which later moved to Great Plains, and they had handicrafts and dancing. We also had the Santa Fe Railroad Station, which wasn't as fancy as the one up front.
Mm-hmm.
A State Fair Midway was added, with a mat coaster, Astro Ride, bumper scooter, go-karts, wiggle worm, kid rides. Operated from 1962 to 1964. Brass Rail Stockyard Stock Restaurant. It had 300 seats. It was a huge restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had the Hallmark Card Shop, where they had postcards and a communication center. Disney had something like this called Carefree Corner until about 15 years ago, where you could leave messages for your family.
Mm-hmm.
They had a relic shop with souvenirs near the Chicago Fire. The next section was the Great Plains, 1803 to 1900. The funniest thing there was the Borden's Barn Boudoir, Elsie the Cow's luxury apartment. And they had Borden's Barn, which is a working farm with horses, cows, sheep, pigs, poultry, corn, and hay. Cavalry Rifles was a shooting gallery. A Fort Cavalry stage line was a stagecoach, and you went through buffalo herds, saw the Rocky Mountains, got robbed, and they had 4 to 8 coaches daily. I mentioned earlier there were 6 to 8 coaches, and 4 to 8 would run daily. They had a mule go-round, which actually goes back to the old precursor to the merry-go-round, where the mule would walk around and pull.
Mm-hmm.
And you could go around.
Now, you would ride on the mule, or the mule would actually turn the merry-go-round?
You'd sit on a seat on the merry-go-round, and the mule would turn it.
Oh, wow. That it goes back to the, not the colonies, what am I thinking? The caravans.
That's right. They had the Pony Express, where a rider would take messages to Old Southwest for pickup. Borden's Milk Bar, and a Chuck Wagon snack stand. The next area, as we move south,
right, because it was oriented sideways.
San Francisco of 1906. They had their little Main Street area called Barbary Coast.
Mm-hmm.
They had a Chinatown with shops, Chungking Restaurant, and 2 Chinese junks that you just looked at. You didn't get to ride in them.
Oh, wow.
My mom, when she went to Hong Kong, she just loved those junks. She could never get on one because even thinking about boats got her seasick.
Yeah.
But she told me she stood on the balcony of her hotel for a long time and just watched them.
The designs of them are amazing.
They're so gorgeous.
Shout out to Sao Feng from the Pirates of the Caribbean.
They had the Hollywood Arena, even though Hollywood's not in San Francisco.
Right.
It had animal acts, stunts, and local TV personalities would come and do shows.
Oh, that's cool.
They had horse-drawn surreys to the southwest area, and a ride that was one of their very few successful rides. Northwest Fur Trapper was a boat ride through the stories of Lewis and Clark, and it was like the Jungle Cruise.
Oh, well, that's an interesting take.
Yeah. and the Santa Fe Railroad stopped there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had the San Francisco Earthquake, which was an Aero dark ride.
So what was the details on the San Francisco earthquake ride? It's not like the Universal earthquake ride, because this was 20 years earlier.
It was a laugh in the dark type ride where you'd get in the little car and you'd go around and you'd see the shaking things, and then you'd see the wreckage and
the buildings sort of swaying side by side and fake fires and all of that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then they had the seal pool with Pacific Harbor seals. I wonder what they did with them during the winter. I hope they didn't just keep them inside.
They probably went to an aquarium.
Oh, maybe. And they had Chun King. Do you remember Chun King?
The restaurant chain?
No, the home Chinese foods.
Home Chinese?
It came in a can.
Oh, gosh, no.
Yeah, Chun King. Chun King's Shangri-La restaurant. They had a fisherman's wharf snack stand, and they had an old seaman who would spin yarns.
Just like San Francisco.
Just like real San Francisco. They had an A&W root beer stand from 1962 to 64, an Indian trading post, and an Italian restaurant and gift shop. The next area is the Old Southwest, 1890s. There was a burro trail, kind of like the pack mule rides at Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
Casa Loca was their haunted shack. Remember the haunted shack from Knott's?
Casa Loca.
Casa Loca.
The crazy house.
The crazy house. That's where we live, honey. They had gunfights. They had a mine cavern train with 14 four-passenger vehicles, and it took them down to lava pits where they had lava creatures.
Oh, cool.
They had Texas Longhorns, an actual
living Texas Longhorns.
Actual herd of Texas Longhorns.
Wow.
And of course the Tucson Mining Company Gondola Skyride I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And Libby's Hacienda / Frito House restaurant.
A Frito House restaurant. I don't know. We're getting mighty close to trademark infringement.
Santa Fe Opera House and Saloon, which is their Golden Horseshoe show. They had a singer, dance showgirls, comedians, and a 4-piece band. And when the old-fashioned show wasn't going, local DJs would come and do live feeds from there.
Oh, that's cool.
And the kids would come and dance to the 1960s music. They also had a Mexican market and a Western trading post. The next one, as we go in a circle, is New Orleans Mardi Gras. No year, just Mardi Gras.
Okay, perpetual Mardi Gras.
Now, here's where C.V. Wood comes in. At this point, Disney, before he left, Disney had started planning Pirates of the Caribbean as a walkthrough. So C.V. Wood took the idea of the Buccaneers and made a pirate-themed boat ride, and that was Buccaneers.
So this was actually completed.
This was actually completed.
And it was completed before Pirates of the Caribbean?
Before, but they had been working on a pirate-themed ride at Disney before Wood left.
Right. Yeah, and that was even featured in the television show.
That's right. They had a Civil War reenactment ride. You were in a horse or wagon, and you were war correspondents. There was a flag of truce on the wagon. You went through battlegrounds, camps, derailed trains, and burning houses. And you watched the surrender at the old courthouse in Appomattox, which features the only Confederate flag that matters. The white flag of surrender. There was also a Crystal Maze, the world's first glass-walled house of mirrors.
I'm kind of surprised that there weren't any before then.
There were plenty of houses of mirrors, but none with glass walls.
Oh, that you could see all the way through.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Pretty neat. Danny the Dragon. There was a red Danny and a green Danny, and each was a 74-foot fire-breathing dragon, and you would ride on his tail through Storybook Land.
So this was still roughly in the New Orleans area? Is where they had their storybook fantasy sort of area?
Yes.
Okay.
You have K Candy, K Kane, L Lane, the kids' play area. King Rex Carousel, which was a 1912 dancehall. Rex means king, so it was the King Carousel. And this would really interest you. They had a Popeye museum in 1962, as in Popeye the Sailor Man. I couldn't get any more details on it, or I would have. But they had a pirate gun gallery, and a Spin-a-Top, which is a Mad Tea Party, but with tops instead of cups. Tornado Adventure Dark Ride. First they put you through a fire and earthquake on the dark ride. Then they put you through a tornado.
Oh, wow.
Because they love you.
They're covering all the natural disasters.
And they brought the Wax Museum over from the Century 21 Expo in Seattle of 63-64. The Jessie Jewel Plantation House Restaurant, Mardi Gras Sidewalk Cafe, and a Carousel Toy Shop. Lastly, we have Satellite City, the future, Blast Off Bunker, which is a control room at Cape Canaveral, or was simulated, of course, control room at Cape Canaveral. Braniff Space Rover, a 250-seat space ride. You worked on the Mars rover.
Yeah, that's a story for another day.
Yeah. The Moon Bowl, which is a stage and 15,000-foot dance floor, 61 to 64. There was a lake there before, and they took the lake out. There was a moving sidewalk, first over the lake, then over the Moon Bowl. Satellite City Turnpike was their Autopia. Special exhibits about science and industry, a Satellite City snack bar, and a Coca-Cola bar. Unbuilt was the Florida Peninsula, Hollywood, New England expansion with Bunker Hill, Fishing Village, and Plymouth Rock. Why no Hawaii? I wrote to myself. It was the newest state. People were crazy about it, tiki, etc.
But it was never built.
It was never planned. And, when they came up with the plan, with the thing of 50 states of fun, people were going to say, where's Hawaii?
Yeah.
Because it's the newest state, it's in the news.
So they could plan in Alaska, but they couldn't plan in Hawaii.
They didn't even plan in Alaska.
Oh, that's just mean.
Yeah. There were some guest injuries since several lawsuits left them deeper in debt.
Yikes.
C.V. Wood jumped ship in late 1960 as the park failed to break even. They made a deal with the Teamsters Union to get more funding, but they could not break even. They laid off employees and forbade overtime. They brought in concerts. They looked at becoming a year-round park with ski slopes. Finally, employee checks bounced in 1964. They filed for bankruptcy. It never earned a profit. They blamed the New York World's Fair for that season's failure, but what about the seasons before that? It's now a Co-op City Development housing cooperative. There's a plaque on a rock dedicated to Freedom Land there. And that's the story of Magic Mountain and Freedom Land. C.V. Wood had 2 other parks, which we're going to talk about next time. So tune in.
Now, before we talk about those other parks in the next episode, let's pause for a word from our sponsors. And we're back. So, Shelly, if people want to find out more about your writing and your history, your deep dives into history for theme parks, where can they find you?
You can find me at micechat.com, the happiest place in cyberspace.
And if they want to support this podcast directly, where can they go?
You could go to patreon.com/fab, F-A-B.
If you want to find out more about my deep dives into video games mostly, but I do talk about Disney, animation, and comic books as well, you can find me on the Street Writer Podcast. If you just do a Google search for the Street Writer Podcast, I should come up. Well, that's about it for this episode of the Pink Monorail, Manufacturing the Magic. We're looking at the parks built by C.V. Wood after he had worked with Disneyland. And we're going to look at some more parks in the next episode. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. A special thank you to our sponsor, circa 1955. Luxaloom is a small business created by our friend Nicole. She makes fragrance oils, sprays, and non-GMO pure soy wax candles with no additives or fillers. Every run is made in small batches, ensuring the best quality possible. She also does custom orders for special events such as graduations, birthdays, and weddings. Nicole is also a huge Disney fan. She has a line called Circa 1955, which celebrates Disney theme parks, movies, and animated features. If you are looking for the perfect gift to surprise a fellow Disney fan, then be sure to visit luxaloom.com. If you enter the code PINK15 at checkout, that's PINK15, then you'll get 15% off your first order. Be sure to support a small business that also gives back to the community. The Pink Monorail podcast is part of the Jim Hill Podcast Network. This includes the Epic Universal Podcast, The Disney Dish, Fine Tuning, Marvel Us Disney, and I Want That Too. Be sure to listen, like, and subscribe to the entire catalog. You're going to love it.